So I ran into another little dilemma. Hi guys, in today's episode we're going to be working on our custom Forester hood scoop and wrapping up some body work on the bumper, giving us a bit more time to kind of focus our attention on the hood panel. So I think it's time to do some experimentation with actual metal. So it's time to do our initial bends. Obviously there's going to be a little bit of a trial and error process, but hopefully we don't screw it up too much so we don't have to redo the whole thing. So we fabricated the upper portion of the hood scoop, as you can see, but we're not finished yet. For the upper portion, it's gonna be in two pieces, where it's gonna slide forward, and then we're gonna cut into the hood and make the lower section. Now I know what you're thinking. I'm cutting up the hood, I'm taking away structural components from the hood, and that's very reasonable to think that, but in fact the hood scoop is going to be part of the structure of the hood, so we're actually going to make it even stronger. So before getting to the second section, the section that's in the front, I'm thinking the best thing to do is to make all the small intricate components that transition from the upper section to the lower section. Now that we replicated this cardboard mock-up into a metal sheet, the tricky part is bending it. So it has to be something like this. We're going to try to bend it to match the curves of the upper intake. So this is what we accomplished so far. It's not tacked up yet, but we made one side, we're gonna do the same for the other. progress one piece at a time. So at this point we're going to tack weld this two pieces together. It's just going to be a couple of tacks. I don't want to do anything permanent, at least not for now. You can see we attached the two side pieces, and next thing we're going to work on is the piece that goes from here to kind of direct air inwards, and afterwards we'll get to the front portion of the scoop. So we're going to do some experimenting to see how we can bend this so that it fits snugly into the inner portion of the upper intake. So let me show you what we have so far. I made this little insert. Let me show you. You see I cut a little notch out and made this little insert. This will direct air into the intercooler. Oh, so loud. So I ran into a little bit of a dilemma here. Let me show you. So as you can see, we tacked up this air dam that we fabricated. Here's how it looks. Again, we still have to extend these little wings to go all the way to the dam, but I did forget something important, and that is on the bottom. See, my plan called for me to bend this and tack weld it to the structural support, but I forgot to bend it. So let's see if we can figure out if we can do this without taking the tack welds off, but we might have to redo it again. So let's see if this thing will fit. So good news, it fits the top and it aligns with the bottom crossbar. We ran into another issue, but unlike all the other problems, this issue I was actually anticipating from the moment I started this project. You see, to model our fabrication, I'm using the original hood that we took off after we did the collision repair, and as you can see, the hood is still bent in the front, and it's not ideal to model, the lower section of this hood. So we'll have to do some experimenting before we start chopping up that hood, but there's going to be a lot of trial and error. So we're finally ready to bend the front section of our hood scoop. So let me show you what we're working with. So this is, to give you the rough idea, this is how approximately how it's going to look like when we're done. We're going to have to extend these little wings down so that they make contact with the lower section, with the front section, and we got to modify it a little bit so it fits better in with the hood. So I was doing some thinking, and I figured out that the best way, the easiest way to fabricate this front portion, the lower portion of the intake, is to cut it into two pieces. So it's another beautiful day and we're back at her again. So let me show you what we were able to accomplish yesterday. We were able to fabricate this front section of the hood scoop. However, after some brainstorming, I figured out that it would be much easier if we section it off into two separate sections. So we did fabricate this midsection, and it's more or less done. It still needs to be trimmed slightly and we can tack it up. However, we have more work on the front section of the hood scoop, so that's what we're going to be working on now. So I got another minor redesign. As you can see, we have our opening. It directs air inward, but I don't think the opening is big enough. I just measured the one on my WRX and it's a little bigger. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna redesign this portion to by bending it down a little bit. So that should give us more clearance for air to pass through. So we added the bend to allow more air to go into our intercooler. All we have to do is kind of fill in this little notch here. So as you can see, we've made the entrance, the intake, larger, so we can accommodate a higher volume of air going into our intercooler. So I'm afraid I gotta call it a day. We got a lot accomplished. We fabricated the top portion of the hood scoop, the midsection, so all we have left is this front section. But as I mentioned before, we cannot do this on this damaged hood. We have to do it on the hood that's on the car, on the good hood. So in the next episode, we'll be cutting up our hood. We'll be fabricating, well, we're going to finish fabricating the front section of our hood scoop and molding it into the hood, making the final welds, and hopefully starting on the bodywork. So a lot of exciting stuff to come. So stay tuned.